You know, in the world of political cable news, you just don't expect to see a conservative host and a progressive senator find common ground. It's just not how the game is played, right? But a recent conversation did exactly that, and it all started with an apology that, honestly, nobody saw coming. That's it. That's the quote that really stopped people in their tracks. It's conservative host Sean Hannity talking directly to Democratic Senator John Fetterman. Think about it. A public admission of being totally wrong. You almost never hear that in today's media. So, how on earth did we get here? From being fierce political opponents to this, a public apology on air. Well, this story reveals a ton about our current political landscape, about the power of personal struggle, and that immense pressure to always pick a side. Okay, so first, to really get how unlikely this apology was, we gotta go back to the campaign trail. This is where these two men were on completely opposite sides of a very heated fight. The difference here is just stark. I mean, during Fetterman's 2022 Senate race, Hannity was a huge supporter of his opponent, Dr. Oz. He even admits he went hard at Fetterman on his show. Then you fast forward, and all that criticism just flips into a complete public reversal. And listen, this wasn't just some casual, oh, my mistake. Hannity really made it a point to say that during the campaign, he genuinely believed all the criticisms he was making. So what changed his mind? Well, he says it was actually getting to know Fetterman as a person. And a huge part of that was understanding Fetterman's own personal battles. And that right there brings us to the human side of all this. Because this story is about so much more than just politics. It's really about a profound health crisis that played out for everyone to see. Just take a look at this timeline. In May of 2022, smack in the middle of a brutal campaign, Fetterman has a near-fatal stroke. I mean, his heart literally stopped. He then pushes himself through that now infamous debate, which was just incredibly difficult, and then later had to seek treatment for the severe depression that followed everything. So you can imagine, faced with the immense pressure of his recovery and this new job, he started to wonder if he could even do it. But instead of hiding that struggle, he made a choice to talk about it openly, hoping it would help destigmatize depression for other people. And it was really that vulnerability that started to change how people saw him. But the story doesn't stop with his personal struggles. Let's look at the political side of things, because Fetterman has been carving out this uniquely independent path that honestly defies a lot of the easy labels. He pretty frequently breaks from his party's progressive wing on some major issues, from his staunchly pro-Israel stance to his calls for stronger border security, and even his vote for the Lack and Riley Act. He has consistently taken positions that frustrate a lot of people in his own party. And Fetterman has his own diagnosis for what's going on inside the party. He basically argues that the real pressure on Democratic politicians isn't coming from the White House, but from the party's most active and vocal base, which he feels often demands this kind of rigid conformity. And this brings us to the core theme that really came out of this whole conversation, this shared frustration with the toxic, tribal nature of our politics today. It's the central question, isn't it? Both of these guys, from their very different points of view, were wrestling with why everything has to be a team sport, where just admitting there's some good on the other side is seen as a betrayal. Fetterman uses this metaphor, professional wrestling, to describe all the performative outrage and conflict that you see everywhere in political talk. The idea is, it's not always about what people sincerely believe. A lot of times, it's about putting on a show for your audience. A perfect example of this? Take the State of the Union address. Fetterman said he saw his colleagues either yelling or just not showing up at all. Meanwhile, he made a point to go shake former President Trump's hand and to clap for Republicans like Marco Rubio. These seem like really basic courtesies, but in today's world, they're seen as these huge acts of political rebellion. So what's the result of all of this? What happens when a politician just refuses to fit neatly into a box? Well, it creates a very puzzling political identity. Let's just look at the numbers for a second. According to a recent poll in his home state of Pennsylvania, Fetterman's got a 60% approval rating. But here's the really astonishing part. The same report suggests he's now more popular with Republican voters than with his own Democratic base. And maybe the most surprising thing is that Fetterman himself seems totally baffled by this. He insists his core values haven't changed one bit, and when you ask him to explain his cross-party appeal, he pretty much just says, I can't. And that leaves us with a final, really crucial question. In an age that's defined by these rigid political tribes, what does it actually mean when a politician defies those lines? Is that a path to broader appeal, or is it just political isolation?
The case of John Fetterman seems to suggest the answer is way more complicated than we might think.